till now in the generalization of finite element code, in the first step we have calculated element stiffness matrix and element load vector through Gaussian quadrature. If you see here, we have generalized the integration through numerical integration and we have returned this element stiffness matrix integrand at a particular Gauss point. Similarly, we have evaluated the integrand for element load vector at a particular Gauss point. This gives us the flexibility to take care any distribution of our distributed loading. Any function we can incorporate directly in this LE load, because now our integration is general through numerical integration. After that, we did introduce two loop. If you see here, there is one inner loop over Gauss point to take care summation over Gauss point, and then we create this KLE and FLE for each element, and this calculation we do for all elements 1 to number of element under this outer loop run by this element number. After that, we have introduced two data structure, coordinate and connectivity, and we have generalized the creation of element stiffness matrix and element load vector using this connectivity and coordinate data. We have also generalized our assembly operation, where we have introduced this array vec, which consists of the address of global degree of freedom in our global K and global F for corresponding local end node, node 1 and node 2. For beam element, for ith node, the global addresses are 2i minus 1 and 2i. This is taken care in a general way with this vec, and we use this address array vec to do the assembly, like here element stiffness matrix to global stiffness matrix and element load vector to global load vector. We have used this coordinate and connectivity to do the post processing in a more general way, where we get our nodal degree of freedom value for a particular element using these two array. Now, today we will do further generalization. Now, if you see in our current version of the code, there is one loop over element where we are creating element stiffness matrix for each element. For our problem, there are 3 elements. So, we are storing that 4 cross 4 element stiffness matrix for each element in this 3 dimensional array KLE. So, the size of this KLE is 4 cross 4 cross 3. Similarly, for FLE. After that, we do the assembly. In the assembly operation, we have another loop over element number. So, where we assemble this KLE to the respective position of global K. Now, In next version, we will merge these two portion of our FEM code under a single element loop. You can see at the right of your screen, here we have first created this KLE for a particular element. After that, under the same element loop, we do the assembly operation. For assembly, we require this address array vec, which we create in the changed version at the beginning, and this KLE, which is obtained after summation over Gauss point. So, Gauss point loop we have to complete the summation. So, after the Gauss point loop, we have KLE for that element, and then that KLE we add to the assembly operation. So, here you can see this KLE is 4 cross 4. It is only local to this element loop. We are not storing element stiffness matrix for all 3 elements. We just calculate for that running element 4 cross 4, and in the same element loop we assemble in the global K. Similarly, here FLE is 4 cross 1 and we assemble in the same element loop. Thus, when we have thousands of elements that generally appear in any reasonably large problem, we need not store for those 1000 elements. So, that is, in our previous version we were storing 4 cross 4 cross 1000. So, that storage space is now not required in this modified version. So, in this generalization step, we do creation of element stiffness matrix and element load vector and assembly to those element vector and matrix to global vector and matrix in the same element loop. So, in the fourth step, creation of KE and FE and their assemble to K and F are done in same element loop. It save our storage. Now, in the next step, if you see, for this problem we have end load and end moment at node 4. So, we have to add this F naught at the global F in the 7th position and this M naught in global F at the 8th position. So, in our previous version we did that in this way. We have to take care the sign as per our convention. So, this F naught and M naught are assigned at the beginning of the program and here we add to the global load vector after the assembly operation. So, this step is clearly specific to this particular problem. We have to generalize for any problem. So, now we are creating two more input array. One is this P load, which is 2 column matrix, where the first column is corresponding to the node number and the second column is the point load value. We take the convention, it is downward positive. Similarly, another array P moment, which is a 2 column matrix. First column is node number, second column is the moment value. So, if we have point load and point moment in more than one node, then we have to add rows further to this matrix. In our main program, we run the loop from 1 to the row number of that P load. So, in as many nodes the point loads are specified. So, this is 1 to that number, and this node is nothing but the location of that point load, that is the first column, and this is the load value in the second column. Then in the global load vector, this point load value will be added in the location to node minus 1, because it is corresponding to first degree of freedom. So, we add this F naught. Similarly, there is another loop run for the row number of that P moment. So, this is the moment value from the second column, the node number from the first column. Here it will be added to 2 into node, that is the second degree of freedom for that node. So, we add this moment value. Thus, for any general problem with point load and point moment, we have to only serve our data at this P load. The row number of the P load will be the number of nodes where point loads are prescribed. Similarly, the point moment data will be given in this P moment, where number of rows are the node where moment are given. So, we have generalized point load and moment data. Now, we will generalize the imposition of boundary condition. For this problem, our boundary conditions are that the node 1 is fixed, therefore, our degree of freedom 1 and degree of freedom 2, that is deflection and rotation corresponding to node 1 are 0. If you see here in our reduced stiffness matrix, we have taken from 3 to 8, total degree of freedom are 8 because there are 4 nodes. Now, here this is for this particular problem, we have to generalize this. Now, here this suppressed degree of freedom, it consists of the array of the degree of freedom number which are prescribed. So, we first create a new input data, that is this BC data. So, this boundary condition data, where the first column is the node number, second column is the prescribed degree of freedom for that node. This is the local degree of freedom number, and the third column is the value of that prescribed degree of freedom. There can be non-zero prescribed degree of freedom. We have to take care that also if that is non-zero. So, if you see, we get the node number from first column, the local DOF number from the second column, and the value from the third column. Here I run for the number of rows of BC data. The size BC data comma 1 give us number of rows. Now, global degree of freedom is nothing but 2 into ND minus 1 plus DOF, because each node has 2 degree of freedom. So, the global degree of freedom corresponding to that ND and DOF are this. So, we append that global degree of freedom to our new array suppressed DOF, and if our value is non-zero, you know, then the load vector is modified. So, our F bar become F minus that K JJ comma DOF into value. You remember, for our non-zero prescribed DOF, so that Fi bar is Fi minus KIL UL, where I is which row I am considering and L is which degree of freedom is prescribed. So, here for jth row KJJ comma that corresponding global degree of freedom into that value. So, our load vector is modified in this way, and this modification should be done for all the rows. Therefore, this JJ run from 1 to 2 into n node. N node is total number of node for that problem. So, that F bar should be obtained for all the rows for prescribed degree of freedom, that U delta. So, thus modification of load vector is done in this step. Also, we have to eliminate corresponding row and corresponding column of global stiffness matrix and global load vector. So, that is done here. So, all the prescribed global degree of freedom are stored in this suppressed DOF. Now, we sort those global degree of freedom number from smallest to largest. After that, for the suppressed degree of freedom DOF, now if DOF equal to 1, that is, if our suppressed global degree of freedom is 1, then we have to eliminate first row and first column, and in our reduced matrix it is 2 to our end, 2 to end row and 2 to end column. So, our new K is DOF plus 1 to end those rows and the same column. Similarly, for our global load vector. Now, if our suppressed degree of freedom is the last degree of freedom 2 into n node, then it should go from 1 to DOF minus 1, that is last but 1. This is our reduced K positions. But if our prescribed degree of freedom are some intermediate degree of freedom, for example, suppose if it is the 4th degree of freedom are prescribed, then fourth column, fourth row should be suppressed. That is, in our reduced K matrix we have 1 to 3, 5 to 10, that is 1 to DOF minus 1, our DOF is now 4. So, 1 to DOF minus 1 and DOF plus 1, that is 5 to end. So, in that case we have to take 1 to DOF minus 1 and DOF plus 1 to end. So, these are the location which will be assigned to our reduced K. Thus, if our suppressed degree of freedom is the first degree of freedom or the last degree of freedom or any intermediate degree of freedom, we get reduced K and corresponding reduced F. Now, this is one important step which I will explain. Suppose we have 4 cross 4 global stiffness matrix and U2 and U3 are prescribed. In that case, first we eliminate second row and second column. So, second row and second column we eliminate. Then our new stiffness matrix is K11, K13, K14, K31, K41, K33, K43, K34, K44, U1, U3, U4, F1, F3, F4. Now, after elimination of the first prescribed degree of freedom, this is our new stiffness matrix. Then we have to eliminate corresponding to U3. But if you see, because of the elimination at the first step, those entries that is corresponding to third column and third row now appearing corresponding to second column and second row because of that elimination. Therefore, after each elimination step, suppose we eliminate the II degree of freedom, then all the suppressed degree of freedom they reduce by 1 in the new matrix. So, now we have to eliminate degree of freedom 2 instead of degree of freedom 3. So, after eliminating degree of freedom 2, all the suppressed degree of freedom number should be reduced by 1 because of due to this elimination their number reduces by 1. So, that is done in this step. So, for all the suppressed degree of freedom from location II plus 1 to end, we reduce by 1. You remember in the suppressed degree of freedom they are shorted. So, we have to reduce only the degree of freedom after II. So, II plus 1 to end. Thus, the imposition of boundary condition is now generalized for any general boundary condition data which is given in PC data. In this step, we modify the load vector for non-zero prescribed degree of freedom, and here we eliminate the row and column corresponding to the suppressed degree of freedom. After each elimination step, all the later degree of freedom are reduced by 1 at this step. So, we have generalized imposition of boundary condition also. Now, if you see our current version of the finite element code, it can be divided in various parts. The first part, from here up to this p moment, here you can see up to this, all these are input data. So, what we did, we have written all this input data in this input file. So, all the input data are written in this file, which is also one .m file, and we directly call this input file here. So, this is the name of this script file, that is you can see input file.m. After that, in this portion we create global stiffness matrix and global load vector. So, here we first create element stiffness matrix, element load vector, summation over Gauss point, then we do the assembly to create global K and global F. So, up to this we write in one function which is stiff load. So, if we open, so in this stiff load, these are the, so in stiff load function, these are the input, number of element, number of Gauss point, then this coordinate matrix, connectivity matrix, then this xi vec, if you recall, these are nothing but vector consisting of Gauss point, corresponding weights in W vec, then Young modulus, moment of inertia, Q naught, and the length of the beam. So, we supply this input variable to this function stiff load. Now, inside stiff load you can see the same operation which we were doing in the main program, we are doing here. So, this is the element loop, summation over Gauss point, then assembly, and finally the output of this function is K and F. So, this part of creation of global K and global F is done with a separate function. Before using any function, you should give the function description in the comment. Here you can see this function calculate global stiffness matrix and global load vector. This is comment. MATLAB will not execute if some statements start with this percentage. This is just for understanding the flow of the code. We should incorporate respective comments. Similarly, this portion where we are incorporating point load and point moment data to the already assembled global load vector. So, we use another function point load moment where the assembled F, P load and P moment, these are the input data for point load and point moment, these are supplied, and in this function we do this same operation and it return the modified F. So, this portion is carried out using this function. Now, after that we have this imposition of boundary condition. So, this here we supply our assembled K and assembled F. This F is after incorporating point load and point moment and BC data, that is the boundary condition data. And in this function impose BC, we do the same operation as described, and finally this is our reduced K and reduced F. So, this function return those reduced matrices and vectors. After that we find our solution, then we append our prescribed boundary condition, that is for this problem W1 and W2. Then we do the post processing part also in another function, post processing. So, you can see in this new function post processing, this is the new function post processing, we do the same operation. So, here in this step you can see different part of our main program are computed in separate function. This give us easy understanding, and also when something is required to change in a particular portion, then we only open that function, that will not disturb other portion of the code. Now, if we run our this modified program, so this is our analytical, the blue graph, and FEM are the red point. Now, this result is corresponding to our 3 element mesh. Now, we have solved this problem using 3 element as discussed. So, if you see our MATLAB program, so then if we run, so you can see that FEM result denoted by these red circles are perfectly matching with the analytical result. Now, suppose we want to solve the same problem, but with 5 element, with a refined mesh. So, in that case, in our generalized framework, we have to only change our input file. We need not change any of this function which is part of our main MATLAB code. We do not require to change this function. We have to only change the input file to incorporate the finer mesh. So, that is the advantage of using generalized code. So, let me do that. So, suppose we have 6 element so we have total 7 node with interval 0.5. So, our nodal coordinate are starting from 0, 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. So, this is our new coordinate matrix. So, if we see the element number, so these are our new element number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, for element 1 our connectivity is 1, 2. For element 2, our connectivity is 2, 3. Element 3, connectivity is 3, 4. Element 4, it is 4, 5. These are the first node of the element and second node of the element. So, for element 5, it will be 5, 6, and element 6, it will be 6, 7. So, these are new connectivity information. So, let us first change this information in our input file. Now, in the input file, this Young modulus, moment of inertia, this q naught, these informations remain same. Now, we have total 6 element, Gauss point information are same, we will use 3-point Gaussian quadrature. Now, in coordinate, first coordinate is 0, second coordinate is 0.5, 1, then the fifth coordinate is 2, sixth coordinate is 2.5, seventh coordinate is 3. So, you can see these are the coordinate with spacing 0.5, and now these are the connectivity. So, first 3 element, then the fourth element is 4, 5, fifth element 5 is the first node, 6 is the second node, and for sixth element, first node is 6, second node is 7. So, this is our connectivity information. Now, regarding our boundary condition, still it is corresponding to first node, that is degree of freedom 1 and 2 corresponding to first node, they are now 0. So, boundary condition information remains same. For point load, the first column is the node number. Now, point load and point moment are applied at the 7th node. Both are applied at the 7th node. So, here this should be 7, value remains same, and point moment is also at the 7th node. So, that is all. So, we have to just change this information. So, this is now the input file corresponding to our finer mesh. Now, if you run our main code, here you can see the number of points in each element remains same, but we have more number of element. So, we have more data point. You can see that data point have increased. For this problem, 3 elements were sufficient to get the prediction equivalent to analytical, but with this exercise I have just explained how to take care mesh refinement only in the input file. You need not change any of this function which are the part of our generalized code. Thus, in this chapter we have generalized a beam FEM code step by step. Briefly, in the first step we calculated element stiffness matrix and load vector through Gaussian quadrature rule to take care any type of loading distribution. We have to just change in this function this expression of the distributed load. In the second step, we have introduced two loops. First loop take care summation over Gauss points, second loop take care calculation of Ke and Fe for each element. After that, we have introduced these two data structure, coordinate and connectivity, which help us to further generalization in element stiffness matrix and element load vector formation. With this data structure, we have systematized the assembly operation. We have constructed the address of each element stiffness matrix with this new array vector, and we use this vec array for the assembly operation, and also we have generalized the post processing. After that, we have created KEFE and we did the assembly of those element matrices to global matrices in the same element loop. Then we need not store the element stiffness matrix and element load vector for each element. In the same step itself, we assemble them to the global stiffness matrix and global load vector. Then we have generalized point load and point moment data, and after that we did the generalization of imposition of boundary condition. Then in the next step, each part of our main program we have calculated in separate function, and we have gathered all our input data in this input file. After that, we have shown that for some finer mesh, we have to do the change only in this input file. We need not disturb our main program and associated function. So, this is all about the generalization of a beam finite element code.